the Independent Electoral Commission confirming that it has fired a staff member for leaking ANC and MK party candidate lists. Now, the motive for the leak is still unknown at this stage. Let's discuss this now, and we are joined by Institute of Election Management Services in Africa Chairperson Terry Tselane. Mr. Tselane, good evening to you, and thank you for your time. Let's begin with your reaction to the swift action by the IEC. Is that good enough to endear itself to the general public and, I suppose, most importantly, to their most important stakeholder, the political parties whose candidate lists were leaked here? Is this a good turnaround time for them?
Good evening to you and to your viewers, and thank you very much for having me. Of course, it is important for the Commission to ensure that there is confidence in the integrity of the electoral processes. And if matters such as this that begin to impinge on the integrity of its processes, particularly security of its system, it's got to act with swiftness, and I think it is commendable that they have actually done so. And it is important going forward that they've got to make sure that they can assure the public and the electorate in general that they're in control of the situation and that a matter of this will not recur going forward.
In your period or during your time as IEC Commissioner, had you ever come across a case such as this one?
Of course, this is for the first time that it is happening. And it is happening at a time when there is already tension within the society around preparation for this election. There are many people who are saying things that are making us a little bit nervous about preparations for these elections. And it is important, therefore, for the Commission to make sure that it can assure everyone that something like this will not happen as part of the preparations for the elections. The security of every aspect of the elections is important, and the fact that the Commission has taken these steps, I think it's commendable, and they must make sure that going forward we are not going to be having anything that is going to be compromising the integrity of the process.
The dismissal of this employee is one part of the action here, Mr. Tselane, because in the introduction we talk about the motive for leaking this information. The IEC did tell us yesterday that they are now conducting some kind of forensic analysis of the workstation, including the computer of this individual. How important is it that the IEC comes back to the public to communicate what may have been the motive for leaking this information?
As I already indicated, there is an atmosphere of nervousness and anxiety existing in our society about the preparations for these elections. We have seen already some of political actors beginning to raise issues about the integrity of the process even before it really begins. And therefore, it is important for the Commission to make sure that it deals with this issue as effectively as it can, and that it is as transparent as it can be, so that all of us can be rest assured that there is nothing untoward and that the systems in the organization are such that we can trust the security of the process, and that ultimately the outcome of the results of an election will reflect the will of the people.
Let's then talk about a different matter altogether. It still involves the IEC. I just want to get your understanding of the possible consequences here. Here is the case. The ANC, it owed 102 million rand to a company, and that company took the party to court. Cut the long story short, there was a settlement out of court. One of the political parties says, we want to know the source of these funds, because this party, in the last declaration of donations, it said it only received 10 million rand. I would like to know from you, what do you understand the consequences would be for the ANC if it is found that it somehow breached the prescripts of the Political Party Funding Act, which is administered by the IEC?
Well, let me talk about the principle first, and not really specifically refer to the issue that we are talking about, because I don't have the details of the matter that we are dealing with. The Party Funding Act at the moment prescribes that the threshold for funding for a political party should be 50 million per annum. And therefore, there is no political party that would actually receive anything more than that. And then any party that would actually get more than what is prescribed in the legislation would obviously have to face consequences of having breached the Party Funding Act. And then there are consequences, and the matter can be taken to the Electoral Court. And, the Electoral Court is the only institution that can take a decision in terms of what kind of penalty that they can impose on such a political party. But the principles are there in the Party Funding Act, and therefore all the political parties have got to abide by the provisions of the Act. And I would assume that all the political parties, particularly those that are registered, are well aware of the provisions of the Act, and therefore they will act within the parameters of the Act.
It's going to be a very interesting case to watch. Tselane, let me thank you very much for your time. He is the chairperson of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa.